It's the Waiting for Next Year.com podcast. Hi, Chad.
I'm just the opening.
Yeah. I think I threatened to change it, and then I got too lazy. I never did.
You sound like some radio stations in town. Called back from a conversation earlier.
Right. Yeah. Naturally. Well, that was one of the hot topics. Although, was it really that hot? I mean, I talked to Joe Lowell earlier this week after that story came out, and I read the story, and it did bring up some new things, but it feels like the same, just an extension of the same conversation that you and I have had,
sure,
and that Joe Lowell and I have had, and nothing's really. Some of the names have changed, but nothing's really changed. Overall, it's the same.
Yeah, I think for some reason I'm so interested in that area because I kind of have a little bit of a dog in that fight. I've been in the machine, so sure. I like it. I like talking about it. I'm
whatever, dude. You got spit out.
I got drop kicked. But no, so I'm always interested in, because I had a passion for radio. You know, being in the Cleveland area growing up, I wanted to. You know, I like talk radio. I wanted to be a part of that, so I'm always interested in that side of it. And I don't blame. I listened to your podcast with Joe Law, like me and 3 other people. I was very into it. And I like Joe. Joe's a great guy. And, you know, he got a bad rap. But I also know how radio's going. The whole industry's in fear. Everyone's in fear of losing their jobs, from the program directors to the operation manager to the salespeople. So they'll do it's sad because it's for the taking in this town. If you want to take it, it's there. You could be the biggest thing ever. And I really do mean this when I say this. I thought when Tony Rizzo was with Garen Goldhammer, that was like the best show in town. I really thought they had a great back and forth. They had a great rapport. It was like good cop, bad cop. I really enjoyed it when that was going down. I don't listen as much anymore. Gerard Cherry's a great guy. He's always been cool to me. We did some sketches together. But it's just, it's not must listen anymore for me.
Well, and it's like they used business reasons to break up the best show because they thought that, all right, well, now we can charge for Aaron Goldhammer. We built him up enough where we can charge for Aaron Goldhammer in the afternoon, and we can make more partners happy. And it's like, well, all right, well, then you've really taken the art out of it, mm-hmm. and you've sacrificed the art for business. And we all know, no matter, and I know that it's weird to talk about art and sports talk radio or talk radio, but some of us really think of it like that.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's no art to it. I had that same drive. I wanted to, when I was on the radio, I wanted to make something big. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to, you know, I grew up listening to Howard Stern and Artie Lang, and those were my guys, and I wanted something huge. So I put a lot of passion into it, like, you know, the stuff I did, the videos, the Parma State of Minds, you name it, you know, the Blacklist, or I was the only guy, and I'm going on record, and nobody can deny this, to get Kyrie Irving in studio for an interview in town. Nobody else has done it. 92. Any radio station, you name it, 1100, nobody got Kyrie Irving in studio to have a sit-down interview. I was the only guy to do it because I had such a good relationship with the Cavs and Tad Carper. And, you know, we got Shaquille O'Neal to come in when he was in town. So, you know, I kind of hang my hat on the fact that people wanted to come in and they wanted to be a part of it, and it was a cool experience. And that because there was passion behind it. I wasn't a lazy guy. I wanted a great radio show. Unfortunately, in this day and age, how radio's going, just people are just, you know, clocking in, clocking out, you know, earning the paycheck.
Well, and on top of it, they create a sense of desperation where these people are afraid to get fired.
Right.
They're not well compensated, and so there's just, and part of not compensating people well is creating a sense of fear, because it creates a sense of anybody could be replaced at any time. If somebody makes a lot of money, in a weird way, that's job security too, because it's putting value in them and what they do. But if you just constantly lower that bar in compensation, then everybody feels like they could be replaced at any time, and they feel kind of worthless. Sometimes people's worth is wrapped up in how much they're paid.
I agree,
which is a weird thing to say.
I think I had the kind of the, you know, I did well when I was in the radio. I had a pretty good salary, but when I found out what happened afterwards, and what they make. They basically took my salary, slashed it in half, made Erica full time, and they made Bill part time. And it is what it is. There's, all feelings aside, that's the radio industry. Any way you can slash the salary. And I didn't agree with what Joel Lowell said when I listened to your podcast. He said it's white noise in the background. It doesn't matter who the host is. I completely disagree, because I will honestly turn the radio off if it's a certain guy hosting the show. I just don't want to hear him. I really miss the days when Triv was a trailblazer. Nobody could talk tribe like Mike Trivisonno back in the day. That guy was awesome.
He's one of the best sports talkers in the history of town, and I know people kind of 50% or 51% now despise him because of politics. But you cannot take away how awesome he was talking sports. He was the best.
He was opinionated. He had strong opinions.
He was connected too.
Yeah, I wasn't listening to 1100 for the callers. I wanted to hear what Triv had to say about what happened at the time. And you got Howie Chiswick, who was a great radio personality, WNIR, the Talk of Akron. I almost had a job there, by the way. So there's personalities in town. Like I said, Rizzo and Goldhammer were really good together. I really like that a lot. And I have nothing, I like Goldhammer. I like Riz, but I like them together.
Yeah.
I don't like them apart. So I don't really listen to local radio anymore. I just don't do it. Even 92.3, like a couple friends over there, I'll punch out, man. It's just not compelling me to tune in.
I love Pearl Jam. Didn't buy any of the solo albums.
There you go.
I mean, come on. What are we doing? Who listened to Garfunkel? Come on. Garfunkel solo? Get out of here.
Who listened to Oates? And I'm in a Hall and Oates cover band. I played John Oates.
And I loved that joke so much because I grew up listening to, rock and soul part one with the greatest hits. The first greatest hits album. Oh, it was a cassette tape that was lived in my dad's car, and I loved all those songs. And so, whenever I was like, oh, I have shared experience of Hall and Oates with people. This is great.
You know what, Hall and Oates. I'm going to take full credit for this. I think I brought him back. I was the guy. I was shouting Hall and Oates left and right, and next thing you know, it's popping up in movies. And there's this weird thing going on.
It's funny. It's only happened a couple times in my life. I mean, you guys, when that thing happened, that was part of it. But then even before, in like the mid 90s or late 90s, one of my favorite like heavy rock bands, they're from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, called Coin Monster.
Really?
But they
Newcastle?
Yeah.
Wow.
But they played all over like Youngstown and Cleveland. They were like regional famous. And they still play. I saw them a couple weeks ago. They play like once a year.
Are they metal?
Yeah, well, they're not metal. Okay. They're but they're heavy and kind of progressive and whatever. But on one of their albums, they did a hard version of Sarah Smile.
Oh.
And I was like, yes, these guys. I knew I loved these guys for a reason. They're like closet Hall and Oates fans, or maybe not so closet Hall and Oates fans.
You can't fake the soul, son. I got to tell you, Hall and Oates has real soul.
Blue-eyed soul.
Oh, man. This is how I knew Hall and Oates was for real. I was in Atlanta airport, and there was a Church's Chicken. I think it was a Church's Chicken. Hall and Oates was on, and the whole staff was African-American, just singing, all of them. And it was like almost like one of those Glee episodes. They were all singing together. I go, this is Hall and Oates. They unite.
Glee episode.
They bring people together. It was a magical moment at the Atlanta airport. Church's Chicken, I think.
The Atlanta
Is
airport.
It a Church's Chicken?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
The Atlanta airport is one of those places. It's like a circle level of hell. You just try and avoid that airport.
You're
a traveling guy. You're a comedian, so I know it's kind of hack to just, I was on a plane the other day. You don't want to do those kind of jokes.
So I just flew into Atlanta.
But Atlanta's got to be the worst.
It's a brutal airport because you have to take trains to get to your. It takes forever to get where the connecting flight. Good luck. Chances are you might not connect.
And it's the most populated airport I think I've ever walked through.
Yeah,
like just so many people.
I was just in Atlanta and I noticed something. I know why they filmed The Walking Dead there, because of all the hipsters. There's a ton of hipsters in Atlanta. Nobody knows that, and they're just like zombies if you think about it. They kind of walk around aimlessly, awkwardly. They kind of smell, no expression. They're always in herds.
When you kill them, they rise from the no.
No, they're not looking for blood. They're looking for Pabst Blue Ribbon in thrift stores.
But it's that same unkempt look. You're right.
Get too close to a hipster, you turn into one. I'm just saying. Stupid.
Hipsters in Atlanta. I didn't know Atlanta had a hipster population.
It's
Although
weird.
Every place has a hipster population.
Oh, man, it is hardcore.
There are a lot of bands out of Atlanta that are kind of like that.
Really?
That white indie rock, maybe a little bit harder edge than indie rock, but like Manchester Orchestra, a bunch of bands like that. So maybe they're living in the burbs.
Maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, we filmed some stuff for Pabst Blue Ribbon. They flew us down there. And we did a show at one of their, like, it's at the Star Bar. It's like their hottest show in Atlanta. It's on a Monday night. And you could still smoke in the bars there, so everyone's smoking.
You can?
Oh, it's the craziest thing ever. And
wow.
I have no idea how that happened. At one point, you could smoke in bars. I left there. I wanted to throw my clothes away because you smell so bad.
You forget. I've forgotten what it's like.
Yeah, it's crazy how we've somewhat evolved as a society, but... In Atlanta, they kind of stayed in 1998. They're like, we're staying here. We kind of like what's going on.
They're listening to Limp Bizkit.
I'm just saying...
Did it all for the nookie. Yeah.
I'm just saying VCR repairman's still a relevant job down there. Blockbusters are coming.
So the one other thing, and kind of going back to the sports talk radio and kind of segueing into something else.
You're the host.
Yeah.
You're the Johnny Manziel of this podcast.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, I was going to say about
you're the quarterback.
All right, thanks.
Kind of.
So the one thing that does exist in sports talk radio today is everybody's afraid to get fired because everything that everybody says at any time could be trumped up, and all of a sudden it's in front of a million people. And I've been fascinated over the last 6 months by how that's intersected with stand-up comedians in the clubs or even theaters, whatever it turns out to be. And they're even now going back to the archives of what somebody said maybe in 2002 or 2003 and trying to apply 2015 dynamics against it.
They did that with Trevor Noah.
How impossible is it now to face the future as a comedian knowing that you're playing in this kind of world?
It's not fun. I'm at the Cleveland Improv right now, and unfortunately we're living...
All weekend?
I'm there all weekend. I don't think this is coming out.
It's coming out on Friday. So when will you be there this weekend?
I'm there. You know what? Don't even come to see me. How about that?
All right. Doesn't want to sell tickets. Fine.
I get a flat rate. There's no door deal for me.
I'll sneak in and
I'm the feature act.
I'll sneak in and I'll videotape it and put it on YouTube so you guys don't have to come.
That's another thing. A lot of people I'll just watch it on YouTube. Why go to a show? That's how people think. And live comedy, it's, I go around, I see things, and it's weird. It's weird. But I do applaud the independent rooms that are popping up and people running those independent rooms because it's letting you do what you want to do. I tour with Jim Florentine a lot, and fortunately he has his whole audience, which is great. So Jim doesn't have to pander or go to a certain way. He just can be Jim on stage, and I get the luxury of being me because they're there to see Jim. Right. And I'm under that umbrella. But if you're just a guy starting out, good luck, man. I feel for you. I really do.
So does it impact your writing now, where you're like, well, if I even work on this bit to get it to a completed fashion, on its way to being completed, it could get extrapolated to a place where I'd be in big trouble and they'd try and make an example out of me?
I just recorded my CD. And I got to do what I wanted to do, which was really cool. But I realized after I recorded, I was like, I can't tell these jokes anywhere else. I can't take what I just said and take it to the Cleveland Improv this weekend because I'll get in trouble. I'll get talked to by the general manager. He'll sit me down because it's a business. They got food. They got, tax forms. They got staff. They got kitchen staff. They got management. They got it's all a business. So, yeah, you kind of – because you want to work. You want to be true to the art, but at the same time, you want to earn a paycheck. Like, I'm a full-time comic. That's my job. I have no other job besides, writing for other people and TV shows and stuff like that.
Sure.
But you got to be conscious of that. You can't – because I know I'm not big enough to do what I want to do. I'm just – maybe in Cleveland I can get away with some stuff and maybe in a couple pockets here and there. But, I go to Kansas City. Nobody knows who the hell I am. Nobody cares. So I got to, work.
So, but I mean, what's off the table now? I mean, do you overthink everything? Do you second guess your material now? Has it hampered your writing?
I've always overthought it. I've always.
Well, I just mean in terms of being worried about being persecuted as a comedian for joking about the wrong things, quote unquote.
Well, the cool thing about me is I have nothing to lose at this point. Like, Google me, my mugshot comes up. I mean, there's nothing you can do to hurt me at this point. I'm invincible, so I have everything to gain. With that being said,
yeah.
So I always had a good filter for the most part, but at the same time, I don't overthink it. I'm critical, but I don't overthink it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then in terms of Twitter and Facebook, I've also noticed that you sometimes you get a little bit of backlash there instantaneously. And so has it made you want to drop off of all that stuff?
You get annoyed every now and then. I think
you can't joke about certain things because people pretend like they don't know you or they don't know you, and they're like, I can't believe this guy would be so hateful and use hate speech. And it's like, no, you don't know Chad. He doesn't use hate speech because he's not a hateful guy. He was just making jokes.
Well, you know what's funny is what's really cool is at one point there was like a real trendy thing not to like me, like locally, and it's kind of going away, which is really fun, and I enjoy that. So I don't get the backlash as I used to because I really embraced the heel role. My favorite entertainer growing up was Roddy Piper, the late Roddy. He just passed away.
Sure.
That's the reason why I wanted to do stand-up comedy. I was like a little kid watching Piper's Pit, and this guy was making me laugh. And I loved the bad guy. The bad guy was so interesting. He was so funny. He was coming down the aisle in Madison Square Garden. Everyone's booing him and throwing, and he's just smiling. And he was more interesting than Hulk Hogan to me.
The wide-eyed kind of psychotic look. He was the best.
But he could go either way. He can go bad, he can go good, and he was beloved. And that was more interesting to me. So I've always tried to take that type of persona with radio and with stand-up and apply that, Roddy Piper-esque vibe.
No, I'm the same way because it was like I get bored. And the current wrestling fans, like, how easy is it to be a John Cena fan? I mean, that's not even fun. It's not even fun. He's like, true blue American, I'm going to salute, and I've got perfect muscles. And
500 Make-A-Wish foundations.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like too perfect. How is that even interesting?
Have you seen Trainwreck?
Yeah, of
Shimmer's
course.
film? He's really good in that.
Yeah.
He's funny.
I didn't need the full-on ass shot of John Cena, but he was very funny.
Yeah, he did a great job. I don't keep up with wrestling like I used to when I was younger.
Neither do I.
But I love the wrestling past. Like, I love the Road Warriors. I love the Four Horsemen. I love Roddy Piper. I love that whole. I'll listen to podcasts just to hear old stories. Like, Ric Flair has a great one, the Woo Nation. I loved Ric Flair. Ric Flair was amazing. He was one of the greatest trash talkers on the mics. So, going back to what you're saying about John Cena, it's not fun. And the reason why, I think that applies to baseball. It applies to everything. Think about it. And my friend Chris Clem, I think you have on this podcast, comedian, very funny. We talked about this. He's really into pro wrestling, loves it. But you think about it, we still talk about yesterday's stars. Hulk Hogan's still relevant, for the wrong reasons at this point. But those guys were bigger than life. And these new guys, I don't even know. I know The Miz because he's from Parma. And I interviewed him a few times. And Dolph Ziggler, I went to Kent State with that guy. But that's the only reason I know these guys. They were larger than life. Those characters aren't there. But you can't even think about baseball. In baseball right now, I can't even name half the players. But when I was a kid, Will Clark, Mark Grace, I can go to Don Mattingly. I can go down the line. Ricky Henderson, Jose, Canseco.
Yeah, we knew them all.
They were huge, larger than life. And it's so saturated and watered down at this point. I just don't. I think that's just entertainment in general. Even bands. Pearl Jam. You just brought up Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Pearl Jam. They're still relevant today. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Metallica, Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, last week I was talking about it on Waiting for Next Year on my Friday post. On Monday night in Cleveland at a place called Now That's Class, I saw the best show that I've seen, in the last 18 months. And I go to a lot of live music shows. And it was these three tiny bands. One's called the Hotelier. Got like this ridiculously amazing positive review from Pitchfork. And here they're playing a Monday night and the place was packed, but it's like 75 people in Cleveland at this tiny place. I handed them a ticket that I bought ahead of time, and they didn't even know what to do with it because nobody else bought ahead of time. It was just like this built-in, I'm just going to go. And it's like you can be this big, relevant, well-reviewed, critically acclaimed band that makes all kinds of end-of-year lists in 2013 and fly under the radar on a Monday night into town and put on one of the shows of the year.
I'm sure all the sports listeners are loving this podcast, but I'm going to keep going with you right now.
Okay.
Band I was at Rock on the Range with, I saw, blew my mind. Go ahead and put this in your notes. Crowbar. Check them out. Okay. They were a little band. They were on the side stage, the Jaeger stage, and I went over with Florentine, and I was blown away. It was almost like Zeppelin, Rage Against the Machine. I can't even describe this. They were such a good live performance. I was blown away. I go, wow. I haven't done this in a long time. After I saw them, I went and bought their album. I was like, I haven't done that. Yeah. And I had to go to a side stage because a friend recommended them. And it wasn't the national media. It wasn't blogs. I just kind of had it recommended from a friend. And unfortunately, after the show was over, they had to get back in their van and go to Hershey, Pennsylvania. Yes. I go, you guys shouldn't be in a van going to Hershey. Should be in a tour bus at least.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm a huge listener on Spotify, except if I can buy the CD from the band's face, that's how I term it. If I can buy it from you, then I will, I will buy CDs. I'm not going to like go order the CDs off of Amazon, but if you're touring and you came to my town and you blew me away on the stage, whether or not I ever even unpack that CD, I'm going to drop the $7, $8, $9 because that's their gas money.
Yeah.
So they can carry their instruments in and out of some crappy Comfort Inn for the night, as opposed to sleeping in the van.
That's one of the reasons why I like you. You're a man of integrity. You're the man of the artist, and I like that. You get it. You understand that. But unfortunately, the masses don't think like you, and that's just the problem with how entertainment is. I just watched the MTV Music Awards. Yeah, I watched it.
I watched the first 45 minutes, so I can actually talk about it a little bit.
It was okay. I'll let you say your opinion.
No, you go.
I was just, my mouth was open of how awful it was. It was terrible. I thought back to the days coming up watching that. That was must-see television when Arsenio Hall was hosting, or Eddie Murphy, I think, hosted once, and Andrew Dice Clay was banned for life for being inappropriate, saying inappropriate things. Didn't swear, but just saying inappropriate things.
Innuendo, yeah.
Miley Cyrus is showing her tit. I mean, she has things on her face that looks like male, I don't know.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, male jizz. It was the most appalling thing I've ever seen in my life. It wasn't entertaining. It was all shock value. It was like, look at me now. It was Snapchat for 4 hours. That's all it was.
Yeah, it was self-referential. It was
no substance.
How many selfie things were there? And it's like, it's at a certain point, nothing is viral if everything is viral.
Right.
And I hope it achieved the results they were looking for, and maybe I'm just too old for it, but it's hard to believe.
I don't think we are. I know cool. Listen, I'm older, but I know cool. Prince is 52 years old. That guy's cool.
I can't be cool standing in the middle of the stage, but I still know it when I see it. I think you're right.
What you see, there's no substance. 5 years from now, nobody's going to talk about anybody there. Nobody's going to care. I mean, they're Kanye, whatever, and whatever he was doing, talking for 10 minutes about. I don't even know what he's doing at this point. They gave him a microphone to talk. It's just like, what are you doing? This guy's a complete moron. Don't get me wrong. I like some of Kanye's music, but
sure. I
don't want to hear that guy talk for 10 minutes.
No, and they gave him some Lifetime Achievement Award.
Do you remember, I don't know, when Metallica was getting the Lifetime, really amazing artists and musicians, and they know how to play instruments. There were probably 7 people at MTV Music Awards that knew how to play an instrument.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I mean, Kanye has had a ridiculous career.
Yeah.
I mean, his music, a guy like
I like
him,
how I'm talking like Kanye's going to hear this. Like, I don't want to piss him off. Like,
well, just in case.
He's good. Yeah, he's very good. Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in such a stratosphere. He doesn't know anything about what anybody says about him, let alone us.
Craig, I'm learning empathy, and I'm learning to be a better person. Okay. So I'm trying to be a little bit more understanding, and I'm trying to be a little bit more compassionate to other people's feelings.
I love it.
Unfortunately, I started with Kanye West. That's the wrong person to start with. I should start with somebody I know.
Right. All right. Well, I guess we should finish with sports. Did you? All right. We'll finish on a high note with the Cavs, but I want to know.
You know why I come on your podcast? Because I want the most downloads.
Yeah.
I really want the most, so I'm going to promote this like crazy.
That works for me.
So you can get the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher,
yep,
YouTube,
yep. Well, no, I don't post it to YouTube.
And Waiting for Next Year.
WaitingForNextYear.com. Yeah,
with my man Scott Sargent.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. I didn't even plug Audible yet.
Audible.
Yeah.
Audible.com, the sponsor of the Waiting for Next Year podcast.
Right. You can get a free 30-day trial that includes one audiobook download. They have over 180,000 titles. There's no way you can't find something that you couldn't, quote unquote, read this week. Audiobooks. And so you got to go to audibletrial.com/WFNY, audibletrial.com/WFNY, and start your free trial. Help us out.
Did you start it? Did you do yours?
Unfortunately, I was already a customer, so we'd already used our free trial long ago, my wife and I.
I'm going to tell you something right now. This is what you do. Go get the free 30-day trial. This is what I do with Netflix. You get a free 30-day trial. I cancel it immediately, and then I sign up under another email address. So I've had Netflix for free for over a year because I just keep canceling.
This isn't helpful, Chad.
No, but you're going to get the hits. You'll get the hits.
Yes. If everybody would like to defraud my Audible sponsorship,
but they want to sign. All you care about is the sign up. After that, it is the Wild West.
Yeah, they'd never figure out that my audience is the one that's signing up, canceling, signing up, canceling, signing up, and canceling. They wouldn't dare cancel my sponsorship, would they?
I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying. Trying to help some people.
Thanks
out.
for the help, Chad.
It's consumer report right here.
All right, I want to know if you had any opinion whatsoever about Mark Shapiro leaving the Indians, if you think it's going to impact anything at all.
Well, you have to look at Mark Shapiro's work. He was good at what he did. Everyone kind of questions some moves he's made here and there, especially under the Dolans. But yep. I think, he was, he's how long? He's around for like 20 years?
24 years.
24 years. I mean, he's been around my whole childhood when the Indians were the must-see team in town. So from that standpoint, from just I'm sad to see him go, but like anything, life's all about changing and evolving, moving forward, and I don't know.
I think we talked ourselves into the fact that he was okay at his job.
You think?
I think it's been miserable to be an Indians fan for the last 10 or 15 years.
But is it his fault? Because he has owners he has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. I know he tried to play Moneyball there for a minute.
I don't know. It's at a certain point I stopped taking ownership of the team's financial situation. I didn't feel like it was my problem anymore.
I don't, and unfortunately, that's today's sports.
Yeah,
we have to the NBA right now. Everyone's talking about the big contracts coming out, the big TV contracts. Why are we talking about that? Why do I care?
Yeah, why do I care how much money Dan Gilbert does or does not make? I shouldn't.
And that's today's sports. It's not just the sport itself. It's the we're talking about the front office. People are talking about the front office and talking about payroll and HR. That's not interesting.
Well, and in a lot of ways, I just want to simplify it. Do I have a positive perception of the Cleveland Indians right now? And have I had a positive perception overall of them for the last 10 years? And the answer is no.
I haven't had a positive perception of the Cleveland Indians when I saw CC Sabathia and Cliff Lee pitch against each other in the World Series.
Yeah.
I was just like, all right, I don't need to see any more. Small market teams do not succeed for some reason or another. I mean, there's those rare situations, but unfortunately, it's just sad, man. It's sad. And it's kind of a mind F going from the teams we had and the players we've had to what we have now, and it's hard to get pumped up. I mean, good for them that they put a brand new bar in center field, but
It just bothers me when people try and convince me that what I'm watching is more entertaining than what I think it is. You can't tell me that it's good because you say it's good. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people say,
this podcast is great.
Right, exactly.
It is so good. This one we're doing today.
It's the best. It's the best sports talk in Cleveland today.
Right now. This episode in particular.
Right.
I don't know how anyone's going to shut this off. You're probably on a treadmill right now going, "What?"
I'm going to need to run for another 15 minutes.
And rewind it and run another 15.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I talked him into this.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. No, but the idea that you're going to tell me that this has been good enough and that I should appreciate what the Indians have done the last 5 years or 6 years, or that I'm spoiled and that attendance isn't justified because I should be enjoying it more or I should appreciate it more. And it's like, no, you don't get to tell me that. I tell you whether I'm liking it or not.
I miss old me when I would sit and watch games. I would tape them on my VCR. I would tape Cubs games at 4 o'clock. I come home from school to watch, or Indians games, and I miss knowing everyone's stats. I knew players. I had baseball cards. I knew everything.
I miss baseball cards.
Baseball cards were the best, and that was everything. Just gets ruined. Everything ruined. Music ruined. Baseball cards ruined. You got a good thing going. Next thing you know, you think you got to mass produce. You got to bring in another company and too many hands in the cookie jar, and they ruin everything. Sports talk radio, ruined. Call back, professional, broadcaster, yes. Brody Stevens.
Somebody give this man a job.
I know. I'm up for a couple right now. I don't want to talk about it because I always jinx them. So
yeah. All right.
Not in Cleveland, though.
So are you going to – you've been traveling so much. You've been out of town a whole lot. Are you going to be around for Cavs season? You going to get some Cavs season? Or are you going to be?
I'm going to get some Cavs season in.
Are you going to be streaming it on a notebook on the road?
Let me tell you something right now, Craig. This is a drop.
Don't you use my name like a weapon. Don't you do that.
Craig.
Don't do that, Chad.
You ever seen the movie Bottle Rocket?
Yeah. There's
this funny little throwaway scene where Dignan, played by Owen Wilson, and Luke Wilson are walking away, and Dignan gets mad, and he goes, "What's the matter?" He goes, "You know there's nothing to steal from my mom and Craig." That just says everything about that character.
The Ron Bennington from formerly of Ron and Fez, but the radio guy, he always says like it's key with step parents. It's like, "You're not my dad, Steve." You just use their name like a weapon. I just love it. It's so hysterical. Anyway, what were we talking about? The Cavs, Chad.
I always Craig. I always get this podcast always gets derailed. Like we'll go down a topic, and next thing you know, the Cavs season. I'm telling you right now, and I dropped this. And you know what I love about the local media? Mm-hmm. By the way, everyone in the local media kiss my ass, and a lot of them are my friends because you know what they'll do. They'll text me or DM me. It's like, "Is this true? Really?" But none of them will give me credit. Nobody will retweet it. Nobody's like, "Chad's reporting," because I'm a comedian and I used to be in the media, but I'm not. So they won't give me any credit. But they'll DM me. They'll text me. You know who you are. You know what station you work for.
They can't text you today because somebody left their phone in an Uber.
My phone is gone. It's in an Uber. If you're listening to this podcast, please return it to me. I have to get a new one through my insurance. But Kyrie Irving, I know for a fact, I texted you this. Mm-hmm. My friends, very, 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 I'm not even going to tell you my source. Kyrie Irving is running. He ran for the first time the other day.
Is it a dog walker?
I don't know. But he legitimately ran. I said that. I broke it. I Googled it to make sure. Jason Lloyd, Windhurst, nobody. But if it does come out, you know the day, you know when I said it. I broke that. I broke it. I want some damn credit in this town.
I'm gonna credit Scott Sargent, WFNY.
Did he break that too?
No.
Oh.
I was just joking about stealing all your credit, even after you put it.
By the way, good Instagram follow, Scott Sargent.
I marked time here to delete this section so that I don't have to give you credit. We could just pretend like it never happened.
Oh, you're taking this out? No credit. I just want credit in this town.
And it's so easy. Why? What's so wrong about saying, Chad Zumock, comedian? I'm not sure where he gets his information, but I have the reason to believe that he knows what he's talking about. Why can't you give Chad Zumock credit?
Because what you just said there, because I'm devaluing these people who get paid to do this. These Andy Baskins, these these Les Levines, these Kenny Rhodas. I'm going, and I like these people, so I'm not saying anything bad. But I devalue what they do for a living. I just go and I break it, and I don't get paid. I don't work for anyone. I'm not affiliated. The closest thing I'm affiliated is to waiting for next year at this point. And and every now and then I'll write an article just for fun. But I don't do this for a living, so
right.
They're not gonna. I think if I followed it more and I was more consistent, I would earn people's trust. And
then you could make the tens of dollars that go along with being in that world.
See, that's the thing about sports talk radio in town, and we'll circle back around.
Yeah.
Some people, I always get emails or tweets like, when you getting back on the radio? And I'm not getting back on the radio in Cleveland. It's just not happening. And I don't want to. I really don't. For what they pay, they can't afford anything I do. I'm talking to a couple other cities right now, and I'm interested, but I'm in no rush because of the pay. Like, I'd be taking a huge pay cut getting off the road and writing for other people, because radio is a full-time gig, and you got to focus your time and energy. And if I go into radio, I don't just want to earn a paycheck. I want to make something awesome. I want to be proud of my product and what I'm doing. And I think a lot of people in town, I'm not going to name any names, they have shows. They just come in, come out. No production, just roll in. They have some intern from UCB, do all the show prep. They read off Wikipedia, their interviews, and they get out. And that's just sad, man, because people are passionate about their sports in town. They're passionate about their radio. Cleveland is a great radio market. You go around the country. I've had a lot of interviews. I've talked to a lot of people. I have a radio agent. My agent sets me up with a lot of people. This is a really cool market, and it's so sad that we're not taking advantage of this situation, because the guys like you who have this podcast, and it's a popular podcast, people listen to this podcast, but you're also a fan of sports talk radio.
Yeah.
And I miss it. And to sum it all up, I miss MTV. I miss the old bands. I miss Major League Baseball. I miss Roddy Piper. I miss everything. I hate 2015 and where we're going.
Everything's dead.
It's all dead.
It's dead or dying.
Dead or dying. Ken Carman is an amazing talent. Let me go on record with that. It's
Yeah.
great. I loved when he was in the evenings. That was the last guy I punched in for.
Yeah, and even then, my only criticism there, they asked that guy to do 5 hours.
That's so hard, man.
It's so hard.
I did 4 hours with Alan and Erica, and it was brutal. About 6:30, I was just like, oh, geez, this is rough. Nobody understands. Oh, you just talk for a It gets hard. It's exhausting.
You run out of things to say.
Yeah.
And Opie and Anthony always used to talk about, too. They'd be like, and when we run out of things to say, that's when we say the things that we shouldn't say about, like, our personal lives and people from our home life, and just because I'm desperate, I need something to fill time, and so they end up saying things that they wish they'd never said on the air. And being honest,
this is a behind the scenes situation. If anybody cares, when I was on my old show on MMS, sometimes like it's just normal. You just kind of like lose momentum, and it just gets a little boring and repetitive. And Alan would be going down a road. As your job as the host, you're the quarterback. You steer the ship. And I was the king of the derail. Like, wherever he wanted to go, I would go in a completely different direction, just frustrate him beyond belief. So he started talking about the Catholic Church around 6:30. I'm already tired. I don't want to talk about the Catholic Church. So out of nowhere, I just go, I wonder what Jan Michael Vincent's up to. He's like, what? Who? From Airwolf? Next thing you know, I'm talking about Airwolf for 20 minutes. The phones are lit up, talking about Blue Thunder versus Airwolf. You remember the helicopters?
Yeah.
Who was better, Roy Schreider or Jan Michael Vincent?
It was on USA Network, right?
Yeah, well, they picked it up eventually. It used to be
when I watched it. It was on USA Network.
Yeah, it was on USA. Jan Michael Vincent at one point was one of the highest paid actors in television.
We used to have TV that was centered around vehicles.
Think about it.
With an Airwolf,
helicopter,
the General Lee,
Knight
Rider, even the A-Team,
Hardcastle McCormick.
No, I guess A-Team was not around that van.
The van was. It's iconic though.
The van was iconic.
Yeah, Hardcastle McCormick, the Corvette.
I see. Now you're maybe a little bit before me.
Oh, I'll keep going.
That one.
I won't stop. Riptide. But Riptide blew it all. They ruined it. You know why? Because they took the formula. They took the boat, the car, and the helicopter. They put them all in one. As too much.
I got another one. Sequest.
DSV. Well, look at you.
Which was the submarine.
I didn't know that.
Sequest.
Look it up.
Look it up.
What about Nighthawk? Was it the motorcycle that did Mach 1 or something? It's ridiculous. There was a show called The Highwayman.
Roy Scheider again. Sequest.
That guy loves vehicles. Roy Scheider, the late.
Is he?
Roy
Is he
Scheider.
late?
He's dead.
Right. That's what I was at. Sequest was a American science fiction television series created by who cares?
What are we missing? Tweet at
NBC between 1993 and 1996. Sequest.
So 93 to 96.
Yep.
Okay.
Sequest. DSV. A submarine. I forgot about that show. Well, all right. Yeah, that's your homework assignment, everybody. You're gonna tweet at Chad Zumock and at WFNY Craig all the TV shows that you can think of where the vehicle was a damn character.
What are we missing?
We've named too many already. We need to just get out of the way and let everybody else finish. Everybody else is going to feed these back to us, and that's going to let us know that you're out there, that you're listening. The other thing is going to let us know that you're out there listening is if you sign up for Audible. Audible.com, audibletrial.com/WFNY, 30-day free trial. You get your first audiobook download for free. Chad, thanks for coming on. I'm going to give you the last word.
Remember my consumer tip about Audible.
Yeah, from earlier in the show.
The last word, I love doing your podcast, and I love you. You're the greatest guy in the world. And, let's do it again. We always have fun.
Thank you very much. We struggle hard sometimes to get these things scheduled.
It's you.
But it is me. But I came up with a genius, brilliant, unbelievable business plan because of our plight to get this thing scheduled.
Really?
I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to say into the microphone, but I'll tell you as soon as
we talk off air?
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. You have your feedback assignment. You need to go say something to Chad Zumock, even if it's not a vehicle-driven show. You need to let him know that you heard him on here. Is there anything you want to promote? You recorded a CD.
It's not out yet.
It's not out yet?
It'll be out in October.
Okay.
ChadZumock.com.
ChadZumock.com. Okay. Thanks again, Chad. We'll talk to you next time. Tell a friend. It's been the WaitingForNextYear.com podcast.
Waiting for next year.